Sometimes it's soft as a misty rain that gently touches my soul. I don't know. Anyway, back to the Hermit. All right, so we have from the High Council Oracle and Tarot deck, the Hermit is this imagery here, which I find to be very beautiful. To me, this shows that the light that the it shows that the light that the Hermit carries within is also being reflected outside with these like glowing freckles that the Hermit has on her face in this image. I think that's so pretty. Just this image to me is just very beautiful, and it kind of highlights to me the virginal aspect of Virgo. So Virgo is associated with purity. Virgo is also the starter of the underworld signs to me. So, yeah, that's just how that feels to me. With the Sagittarius element, I still feel like it's the fiery, illuminating essence, but I just feel like the softness here and just that very feminine and very, you know, just warmth in that way is the fire sign Sagittarian element here. There's still the element here of wisdom, and I'm gonna read to you what it says on the front of the card. It says soul searching. The Hermit is definitely a card about internal reflection and finding the light within yourself if you are feeling lost, or even if you feel a little isolated too. The Hermit does have the energy of isolation, but I really feel like it's the isolation in order to seek wisdom, not like the isolation in a way where you're avoiding yourself. It can be that. I feel like in the reverse position, the Hermit can, because it says here, exile, loneliness, that can definitely show up. But it's isolation for the sake of elevating, because it has meditation, solitude, withdrawal, and introspection, self-reflection. That's really what the Hermit energy really is to me. So, I'm hungry. Just roll with me. All right, so I want to point out, too, that in the Morgan Grier deck, the six-pointed star illuminated is in a lantern. On the High Council Oracle and Tarot image, you can see that this is the same star, but it's in the front of the chest. I really appreciate that even though it's being expressed outside of the body in the High Council Oracle and Tarot deck, it's giving more of a sense of wholeness. You can see within the imagery, like I said before, like you can see, I know it's inverted, but on this screen, but you can see the number 9 here, okay? And it's the wholeness from that. So if you were to take the lantern and go around and like, y'all see what I'm talking about. So it's the number 9. What I do want to say though is that with Sagittarius and Virgo are both underworld signs, but also associated with the 9th house in Sagittarius is higher education. And I feel one of the themes of the Hermit card is the knowledge of self being being the highest form of awareness and knowledge, because the more that you get into these practices, the more that you learn that it really is about what we give ourselves internally, determining what we experience on the outside. Okay, to a grave degree, our beliefs really do shape our reality. And even moving into like the law of attraction or law of even assumption, I would say even more, you are using these inner faculties in order to create your world, in order to shape your reality in a way that you prefer, which is why you will need times of introspection, isolation, meditation, time alone. You know what I mean? And the Hermit is usually found somewhere in nature alone, in the woods alone, on a mountaintop alone, things like that. So just those themes really feeding your sovereignty is what the Hermit is about. All right. So now we're moving into the 10th archetype of the tarot, Major Arcana, which is the Wheel of Fortune, which has to do, excuse me, I see my nose running, pardon me, which has to do with the change of fate. All right. So it's associated with the number 10. This is what the Morgan Grier image looks like. You see some royal figures here at the top of the wheel, and then you see homeboy or homegirl right here falling off on the way down. And then you see the hand of fate, as you can see coming through the clouds. You know, that's the spiritual energy. Anytime you see something in the tarot emerging from the clouds, like the Ace of Wands or Ace of Swords, it's divine intervention at play. So here we see the divine intervention is at play with the hand coming out to turn the wheels of fate. Now, in the traditional image, the fixed signs of the zodiac are in each of the corners of the card. So that's Leo, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Taurus. You will see them 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. I love that imagery because it's showing you that the fixed signs are here to sustain a certain type of energy, okay? But we're not going to get into the details of that right now. But just know that that traditional image is important, and it is, especially with me showing you or sharing with you how these cards move through the zodiac. So if you can look, you can Google an image of Rider-Waite Wheel of Fortune card, and it'll show you. So they're there for a specific reason. They're here to sustain certain, I want to say, to sustain a certain balance of reality from the inside out, and why we experience things a certain way from the inside out, even if we are experiencing them through external means. Okay, so essentially, this means what goes up must come down, and depending on the way this card shows up in the reading, either your fate is changing for the better, or something is going to, I don't want to say the worst, but something is going to come down. And the Wheel of Fortune, sometimes people like to say no matter how this card shows up, it could be up or down, but that doesn't make any sense. When it's up, this is a positive fortune. When it's down, there may be some things being asked to examine to prevent a negative fortune, or that is going to be removed out of your life in order to improve your fortune, or it just means bad luck. Okay, so it just depends on the reading. The woman here in the purple and the red, I want to point that out because with the axiom as above so below, which is a heavy theme of the Wheel of Fortune, right? Because it's either up or down, even though things are always turning and changing because life moves in cycles. Purple and red are associated with the crown and the root chakra, and they work in tandem with one another. So as above so below, the more stable and grounded that you are, the more you're able to reach those spiritual heights that are associated with the crown chakra, with spiritual connection, with your ancestry, with celestial spiritual beings or guardians, or things of that nature. So it's just, I find that to be very evident on the card here with the red and the purple. Okay, so, and especially you could look at this as the Emperor and the Empress, even though we know the Empress isn't wearing a purple dress in her card, but these royal figures here, the foundation being associated with the number 4 with this red, and then a higher octave of that working in tandem with the crown chakra, and purple being associated with the color of divinity, I think is also significant. Now, in the High Council Oracle and Tarot deck, we see a figure. It looks like this is someone who is in ceremonial dance in the center of the figure. And I love that because this is showing you the movement in that way. And you can see that there is illumination above here, which I feel like shows those etheric and spiritual forces, or those fated energies in motion on this card. But if we read, we can also see opportunities. Let's see, winning. Exactly. When this comes off, it's a win. It's good fortune. Reversed, it would be the disappointment and change, misfortune, mishap. Okay. So, and I do love, too, that it's cast like this, all behind the circle or the center is celestial. So this also reminds me of, turning the wheels of fate, or things being fated or being guided from those more spiritual expressions in our lives, or interplay in our lives. Now, the number 10 is also associated with the 10th house, which is associated with Capricorn. Capricorn is a fixed sign, and we know that the fixed signs are shown traditionally in each corner of this card. So you want to think about the archetype of Capricorn. Y'all have heard me say this before if you've been keeping up with some of my stuff, but Capricorn is a symbol of the goldfish, which means the deepest depths and the highest heights, similar to the Wheel of Fortune, where it's a peak and it's also a fall. But you can also look at fall as being able to reach certain depths. Okay, so you have to be able to go deep in order to go high. I think that's the major theme of the Wheel of Fortune card. Okay, and we're gonna run out of time, so I'll be back and we'll go into the Justice card. Peace.